Welcome back to the Vertu YouTube channel. I'm Abby Pulling and today I'll be getting behind the wheel of the BYD Sealion 5. Normally I'm racing cars around the circuit, but today we're going to be trying something a little bit different.
And it's a brilliant start from pole sitter Abbi Pulling. She is driving so well this season. Make no mistake, the fastest driver on track. And without doubt, one of the greatest female drivers in the world right now, Abbi Pulling.
BYD in 2023 burst onto the scene, providing affordable cars without skimping on the performance. With me today is the design model, but they also have an entry-level model called the Comfort, which is available from £28,426 as of the time filming today from a Vertu dealership. Starting with the grille, there's nothing particularly special about it. It doesn't stand out in any certain way. It fits in quite nicely with the current SUV market, but actually I really like the LED lights, which make it have quite a mean feel to it, and it's also finished with that nice Atlantis blue. Moving on now to the side of the car, you may actually notice on the wing mirror it's got something that will help you get into the car, which we'll talk about later. But actually this car is 4.7 metres long, very comparable to other SUVs on the market, like the Peugeot 2008. On the side as well, there are lots of different things, like this silver trim, which I really enjoy. It goes throughout the whole car and complements it very nicely. The styling of the rear of the car is actually quite simplistic, although this light panel that goes across the rear keeps in line with the front of the car, that mean aspect that you get. I think it also makes it look that a little bit racy, keeping in line with some of the modern cars of today. But let's now take a look at the boot. This boot is 460 litres. It is mid-range, there are some boots that are bigger and smaller, but I think we can all agree it's a pretty sizable boot and it does the job. Definitely enough space for when I go racing, I need to put my luggage in the back, or even if I go on holiday. Up front now, and you can really get that design model feel. For me, the interior build is really important and how sturdy it is. There's no tacky plastics creating large noise. It's all simplistic leather, but adds that little extra bit of character and design. Any bit of plastic that is inside has a bit of a texture to it that makes it seamlessly go in to the interior, as if it's leather. Also, something you'll notice is that silver trim we saw on the exterior also carries on to the interior. One thing that this interior doesn't lack is the storage. Down here we have a massive storage compartment. On top we have a place to charge your phone wirelessly, and then in the center console, you can't see it, but it's got tons of space here for everything you want to kind of dump in there. As I've previously mentioned, this is the design model with the design trims, but the Comfort model is just as packed with different features. Both models come with a touchscreen infotainment system, which is 12.8 inches and also looks really high quality in HD. The entry-level Comfort model also gets LED lights, parking sensors, full leather and metallic paint. The design model, however, also gets you 360-degree parking cameras, wireless phone charging, heated seats and a bigger battery. I'm loving all the detail on the interior of this car, and to top it off, the seats also have a GT race car kind of feel to them. Now onto the infotainment system. If I'm honest, I don't even know where to start with this. There are so many different features packed into this that if you were to be the lucky owner of this car, it would take you a while to kind of get to grips with it and know what is kind of going on. But once you do get to grips with it, the world is your oyster. There are so many different features that this car has to offer. But starting off with one of the most important things, and can be a deal breaker for some people, is it has Apple CarPlay. So really easy connectivity, it's wireless, which is perfect, but also quite common now in most cars. Climate control is also built into this screen. There's no buttons on the dash, it's all built into this 12.8 inch screen. Infotainment system, if you like. It's got heated seats as well that you can control from the screen, and it's all fairly standard as far as climate control goes. We can also access the settings, which means you can turn off some of the assists if there's too many things beeping at you, or you want to turn off the door opening warning for whatever reason, blind spot detection. It's got so many different features that you can turn on or off and adjust it to what you like in the car. Headlights, intelligence high beam control. That's actually a really cool thing when you're driving at night. You can also go into the energy settings, which I think is really interesting. As someone who's come from racing in a Formula E car, there's some things here that are quite similar. You have the regenerative braking that you can change from standard to high. So the higher one will be more eco-friendly, more braking using the motor, which then regenerates more battery. You may recall earlier me pointing out the NFC tag on the wing mirror. This is the card which will help you get in and out of the vehicle, and also you can start it, so there's no need for your keys. Now the thing that I really like is the BYD store. You can go into this application, it's almost like the Apple store to an extent, and you can download loads of different applications straight into the interface. There's things like the BYD arcade, you can download that, play some games whilst you're charging, of course not driving. There's karaoke, there's YouTube, and even Zoom. So if you need to do a business meeting or something to that extent, whilst in a service station, it is all here ready for you. Now in the back of the car, just as comfortable as the front. We have the leather interior as well that extends across into the back seats. We have this central armrest with 2 cup holders as well, so you can eat to your heart's content and try not to make a mess. Down here we have 2 USB-C points as well, so that means there'll be no arguments on who gets the charger. A little bit of climate as well in the back with these vents that we can control the angle of. And then one really important point that the parents may love is the ISOFIX in the rear seats, really easily accessible, and it's also available in the front as well. So if you want your child next to you whilst you're driving, that's also an option. Now is the part that I've been waiting for. Let's go driving. Now for me as a racing driver, this is probably the most important part, is how the thing drives. Getting behind the wheel instantly, I can feel the suspension isn't necessarily, as we go over a big bump. The selling point of the car is quite a mid-range suspension. It's not the reason why you're going to be buying this car. The reason you're going to be buying this is for the comfort that it gives. And actually, the driving itself is really smooth, and the steering wheel, it's not too heavy. It's got a nice power steering kind of ratio to it. There's some cars you can get in that are a little bit too heavy for my liking. This one isn't too heavy, isn't too light, but is a nice drive overall for sure. One thing that is a selling point though on this car is the hybrid system. It has quite a higher tolerance, let's say, to other hybrids, and when you're driving in the towns or cities, it doesn't turn off above a certain miles per hour. Some of them can be quite quick to turn off. You can actually use a fair amount of it, which makes city driving a little bit nicer, quieter, and also more economical. Not only that, but also on drives, you can plan where you distribute your energy and your engine. So say I'm on the motorway, I want to be using my engine, so you can plan that. Then I get to a race circuit and I'm going through a little village, I can then decide and plan ahead that I want to use the electric motor in that area, which I think is pretty smart, to be honest. The technology on this car feels almost infinite. Now, I know what all of you car geeks are saying. You're yelling at the screen, Abby, give us some more stats, we need to know a little bit more about it. Now, this car has a combined total of 212 brake horsepower, and it gets, the comfort model gets to 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds. Then this model, the design, is a little bit slower, add another 0.4 of a second to that, and then you get to 60 miles per hour. The reason why the design model is a little bit slower is because it has a bigger battery, which means it's going to be a little bit heavier, thus a little bit slower. The only downside, although not necessarily a deal breaker, is that it doesn't have four-wheel drive. It only has front-wheel drive on this SUV. For a plug-in hybrid, it's also really important, the charging times. It can be a sticking point for a lot of people, and their starting model, the Comfort, has a 6-hour charging time. So that means it's all right for overnight charging. If you're in a bit of a rush, it might be a bit harder. The design model, however, to get up to 80% capacity of the battery, it only takes 30 minutes and then it's 45 minutes to get to full charge. Not only that, but the battery is also bigger, which means you get an extra 45 miles out of the design. The seats are actually really comfortable as well. Obviously heated seats, I'm a sucker for putting them on at any opportunity. The seating position, obviously very customizable, using the electric motors to make sure I get myself in a position that I like. And then that GT kind of trim, the headrest in itself, I think something that can be overlooked actually is where the headrest is and how you position your head on it. And I'm able to lean my head on it and take a little bit of strain off my neck. Of course, driving all day in a race car, my neck gets sore. So again, I've got that little bit of extra support that translates quite nicely when you're on the road. I'm actually pleasantly surprised as well with the size of the car. I was scared it was going to feel a bit too bulky at first. Being an SUV, oftentimes on UK roads they can feel a bit too big, but this feels like kind of happy medium, the perfect size. There's not too many blind spots. I mean, the A-pillars can be quite annoying sometimes on an SUV, really big and bulky, but these are airy enough that you can see, you don't have too many blind spots. There's a few maybe on the rear of the car, but then there's a lot of features with the cameras that you get on the infotainment dash that helps you out when you are in a tough spot and you have that little bit of a blind spot. The dash itself is all electronic, so there's no speedometers or anything. It's all a digital display and it's 8.8 inches, so it's not too big. It's probably on the smaller side actually, I would say, but it gives you all the information that you need. You can also change it again with some things on the steering wheel. You can change between different pages and different information that you maybe want. Something that I've noticed as well is on the steering wheel we've got lots of features that you'd expect. You can control easy access to your sounds when you've got your music playing, your karaoke maybe. You can play with the sound and what song's playing on the steering wheel, as well as cruise control. That's something that we always like, as well as a few additional buttons for phone calls. You can accept a phone call. It looks like you can maybe turn Siri on or a voice note into some description as well on the steering wheel. So lots of accessibility, so you're not taking too much attention away from the road. Something I think adds a lot of character to a car as well is the car noise. So going around a roundabout now, so it's the perfect time to give it a go. The indicator noise, listen to that. I would say it's not maybe my favourite car noise that I've ever heard, but it's not annoying. You can get some that are really, really obnoxious and annoying. It's quite a nice subtle, kind of like clockwork, the indicator is. And also some of the chimes you've been hearing, they're not too in your face. They've not been, again, although they've been going off quite often, not actually that annoying. Overall, I think this has been a really pleasant experience. It's definitely something that I'd like to come back to, and I'd urge you guys to give it a go yourself and let me know what you think of this car. But it's answering all my questions and it's doing everything that I expect from an SUV. And that is it on the BYD Sealion 5. And in my honest opinion, with the drivability, the comfort and the technology inside, this could be one of the best value for money SUVs on the market at the moment. But don't take it from me. Head down to your local Vertu dealership to give this a test drive for yourself.